Welcome back to another episode of Building the Pride here on a victorious Tuesday evening. I am your host, Drew, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Mike. How are you, Mike?
Can you be bad after a victory ever?
Yeah. Can you?
No. I mean, you know what? Actually, we'll get there. The Jets can be bad. Like, they can be bad.
Oh, yeah.
But we'll get to that. But no, it's been great. The best part is we actually had a victory Monday on Friday. We got to end our week celebrating.
Yeah, we got the whole. It's nice to go another 3 days.
Yeah, exactly.
Feeling
what's
the
up,
that's
always
A6 generous. Yeah. Hey, what's up, guys? Super Bowl. Well, I mean, like, it's when you got to play 17 games, you can't win 17 if you don't win that first one.
Yeah, it's like bowling. You can't get a strike if you don't get the first one down.
Yeah, get all the strikes.
So before we start, I want to throw a shout out to our new subs, Rick Prather and Hefe KC. Looks like a Kansas City fan that tuned in last week before the game. So
I saw Hefe in a PFF chat this last week, and I thought about saying hi, and then I was like, it's probably not the same guy. But it was. It was the same guy.
So welcome to Rick and Hefe. I'm assuming I'm pronouncing it right. If not, I apologize. But yeah, welcome to the crew. We appreciate you.
Yeah, that's great. I'm always love to see a new subscriber.
Yeah.
So
news and notes around the NFL. Obviously, the big one, Aaron Rodgers injury. We'll get to that.
Sure.
What else we got? I know my brother and my dad were talking about some DraftKings things. They're like, yeah, we got a parlay that should be a no-brainer. All Joe Burrow and it was Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase had to each get 50 yards receiving. I'm like, yeah, that's going to happen by the first half.
Sure.
And Burrow only had like 87 yards or something for the entire dang game.
He was benched in the fourth quarter.
Dak was benched too, so I'm sure he feels just the same.
I don't know.
For very different reasons.
I don't know that was the same situation.
But, couldn't believe that. Could not believe that.
I was following the scores on my phone because I was at a family birthday party, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, I think they got Cleveland and Cincinnati scores in the wrong spots.
Yeah.
But nope, the Browns just played a solid game, and for whatever reason, like maybe, Burrow had that calf injury. Maybe that's just rust, and he hasn't played, and they started slow last year. Their first 4 games were not impressive.
Well, when
last year they made the conference finals, right? So, but this was a division game.
Play in the preseason.
Yeah.
This is the downside is this is the first one that counts, and it does not look like the Bengals are going 17-0 this year. So
no,
but nothing's stopping them from going 16-1. So they got that going for them, which is unlikely.
Yeah. I do have
the other game.
Oh, go
what's that? Go ahead.
Well, so my note was from the Jets game.
Oh, okay.
Garrett Wilson has a catch of the year candidate already.
Oh, really? I haven't seen the game yet.
So he catches the touchdown pass, must have been from Zach Wilson. And he is it Buffalo's guy? Buffalo's corner is all over him. And he's literally like fending the dude off with his offhand. And he tips the ball to himself midair and then lands on the ground and catches it. It's astonishing. The kind of concentration and control exhibited in that one play. I watched it multiple times from different angles in order to be like, the fuck did I just see? So
yeah, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it was really great. So that was my big takeaway from the. I did also think that week 1 was a lot of little surprises.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was in like a pick'em league or something, I'd be toast in week 1. I would just be absolute toast in week 1.
Yeah, there were a lot of upsets. There were a lot of I picked Dallas to win. I didn't pick them to win 40-0.
You didn't have them plus 40. You didn't have the over.
I did not have them plus 4.
What's weird about that is the over on that game was probably in the 50s.
Yeah, they didn't even make the over. One team scores 40, and they don't.
And if you were like one team's going to score 40 points and you're going to lose the over, I would have been like, no.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. But yeah, they absolutely handled the Giants. It wasn't pretty or close in any phase.
Yeah, the other thing that shocked me was Josh Allen was a turnover machine, and that's
unbelievable.
Like, what was that? That entire game was just kind of mind-boggling.
Yeah, I don't really know what to say, to be honest, about that. Like, that was just a bad game, and it wasn't like. So it wasn't like the Mahomes interception, right, where he hit the dude in stride on the face mask in between two hands, right, and it just bounced off. It was, these were bad throws. Like, these were throws worthy of a turnover. So
yeah,
I guess you're going to have that, but you should fix it soon, because, I mean, this is also, you lost to a division opponent who you should have beat, even if there was no injury. So, and they didn't.
Yep.
So that's why you got to play the
games. The Rams you gotta have the Stafford update, right? I mean,
he looked great.
He looked on. Yeah, he was on time. He had nice, strong, tight spirals, right? Like good ball. Like, he was the Stafford of 2 years ago when they won the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, the rest of the team is not the LA Rams of 2 years ago when they won the Super Bowl. But he looked great. And Puka Nacua is.
Yeah, I picked him up in my fantasy.
He's going to be the guy, right?
He might be the number 2 behind.
I think he will behind Cup. Yeah. Obviously, like a rookie coming out of nowhere, you don't expect 10 or 11 catches for 117 yards or whatever it was.
Pick.
As a 5th rounder, that was possibly a bubble guy, right?
Yeah.
So, vintage Stafford, he didn't look this good the second half of the Super. Disagree. I mean, he had 3 games where he had, I think it was a pick 6, 3 games in a row. But like, one of those was OBJ running the wrong route in his second game. One of those was just a bad decision, bad throw. And then the other one was trying to avoid a sack for a safety. And the guy scooped it up when he was trying to throw it away. So like a couple of those were whatever. I didn't think he played terribly those games. But yeah, he looked really good. And the Rams were 5.5 point favorites or underdogs, Crimson. And they came out and squashed them. The good news is they squashed the team we get to play next week at home. Yeah. So we'll preview that later too.
Yeah, I mean, he looked crisp. He looked good. He looked like Matt. And congrats to the Rams. Went into Seattle and won. Not easy. Yeah. So, and the Seahawks, which I could hold this off, I suppose, but like the Seahawks signed Jason Peters today. He's my age, 41, for anybody out there keeping track, to come in because Charles Cross rolled his ankle. That's Seattle's second year starting left tackle. And Abraham Lucas, their second year starting right tackle, also got knocked out of the game last week and couldn't return. So they signed Jason Peters to their practice squad, and if Seattle is down, they're starting 2 tackles coming to Detroit. I'm loving Aiden's chances of just ripping apart,
wrecking them. Yeah,
their offensive line.
He'd be a wrecking ball.
I mean, Aiden looked fantastic week 1. I mean, he had 7 pressures, 3 QB hits, and there must have been at least 3 or 4 more instances where he had like his hand on Mahomes' jersey as Mahomes is letting go of the ball. And I'm like, oh, Aiden.
And that's not including the fact that he was held far more than it was.
It was disgusting. Like my cousin.
We'll get to that there later.
My cousin asked me, he was like, how mad were you that they fucked with Aiden the whole game basically, and I was like, we won. I'm not gonna get mad about this. I'm just gonna enjoy the win.
Yeah. So let's talk Aaron Rodgers, right? Because that happened first. That was another one of those parlay bets.
Four snaps.
My brother was like, yeah, between Aaron Rodgers and Josh Allen, they had to throw 3 touchdown passes or something like that. I'm like, that should be easy enough.
Easy as pie.
Oh my God. He
do I make the check out to? Yeah.
He goes down 4 plays into it, and then Josh Allen throws 3 interceptions. I'm like, I bet he lost that bet.
Yeah.
I don't ever root for people to get injuries unless their name is Claude Lemieux. I don't even root for Rodgers to have an injury. So it is unfortunate for him. I don't actually care, right? But yeah, that's crazy. Like, what are they going to do?
I think Zach Wilson's the quarterback of this team until the trade deadline, and they're going to give him a chance to see if he can do it. And or you do something like you go out and you make a trade for a quote unquote starting level quarterback. Like, can you get Andy Dalton? Can you get I don't know, Jameis Winston? Can you get somebody? Colt McCoy? Yeah. You know, can
who was it that the Cowboys picked up to back up Dak?
They traded for Trey Lance.
Trey Lance. Yeah, maybe that's the thing. Although if Dallas just traded for them, they might not give him up that quick.
Well, Will Grier, the guy that Dallas cut to make a spot for, Detroit, to make a spot for Trey Lance, I think got signed to a practice squad, Tennessee, maybe, something like that.
Okay.
You know, and I'm like, if I'm the Jets and I'm looking around for like a young-ish, but has been in the league a while dude, might take that chance if it's not too expensive, late round pick, whatever, you know, or like what Crimson's recommending. Like, apparently, according to Kyle Shanahan, the 49ers, the 49ers had Phillip Rivers on their speed dial. If they had won the NFC Championship game, I would trade Teddy Bridgewater for a 3rd round pick. I absolutely would do it. I would not think twice. I would just be like, thank you very much. And then I would just go sign someone else. I would sign Sudfeld, or I know David Blau's on the practice squad or whatever. I would just have a body back there. I know that's not their plan. Otherwise, they wouldn't have signed Bridgewater. But yeah, I mean, if someone said, hey, we'll give you a 3rd round pick for Teddy Bridgewater, here you go. Enjoy, Teddy. Get your opportunity, son.
Yeah. So I want to throw out a scenario for you. So I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are on this and what the chat thinks as well. The rumors during the summer were the LA Rams tried to trade Stafford to get out from underneath his contract. Now, granted, he just had a great game. They won against a division rival. They maybe aren't going to be a bottom 3, bottom 4 team like they thought they were, kind of thing. And from what I understand, the Jets actually tried to get with the Rams to trade for him when they thought the Rodgers trade was going to fall through. They're like, man, we need somebody. Like, is he available? The Rams said no. So if they come calling now and they say, you know what, I'm going to give you our 24 first-round pick, our 25 first-round pick, and Zach Wilson, and you're the Rams, do you take that?
I don't know that I think I would
think about this.
Yeah.
So think about this. If they come back to that, right? They're like, I'm not going to get rid of him. He's one of our 3 pillars with Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald. And they may throw the whole house at him. You make that trade. You got Zach Wilson. You're probably going to be a bottom 5 team, right? Which means you're in the Caleb and Drake May, Caleb Williams hunt. So you're potentially going to get one of those 2 guys. You get an extra first rounder this year. You get 2 first-rounders the next year, but you also have a quarterback. Maybe Zach Wilson just needs a change of scenery. Maybe he needs a change of coaching, and he can be successful. But you got like something.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something you do? And if you do, that I was thinking about this. I played the whole thing out in my head. Say you make that, and now you got Aaron Donald going, what the hell? I didn't come back to be on a rebuilding team. Trade me.
Yeah.
What are you going to get for Aaron Donald?
Lots.
2 1s? A 1 and a 2?
So.
And then play it out to Cooper Kupp. Maybe he's next.
So what
you could end up with like Drake May or Caleb Williams, 2 additional first rounders this year, 3 additional first rounders next year, and you may end up having just a bunch of high-end picks to restock and reshelve.
So I think the issue is I don't think the Jets have that capital to give.
They do. They've got 24. They got a first rounder next year and in 25, and they've got Zach Wilson. Now, granted, they wouldn't be taking all of like Aaron Donald and Cooper Kupp. You'd find other teams that who wouldn't want to trade for Aaron Donald, right?
Right.
Who wouldn't want to trade for Cooper Kupp once he's healthy?
Sure.
And maybe he's the X factor that people are, we got an injury prone. We're gonna leave you there, but that's fine.
So my thoughts for the Rams is this is not the team you thought you were going to have this season.
Right.
And I think that NFL teams don't bottom out enough because it usually ends up to people getting fired. So it makes a lot of sense that they don't, but like the natural life cycle of a team, this is the time when you should be looking in, cashing in your veterans who will probably be upset with the rebuilding process, who you've already committed a lot of money to. It might be time to look to say, what can we get for that? A lot of players, most players don't play their whole careers with one franchise, and that should be a part of the scenario. So, I would, if I was the GM, if I was Les Snead, I would say, fuck, get me those picks and look to move players off my roster to go to bottom out. Because
that's what this year is. They've got something like,
they're doing a very bad job of it so far.
Well, not for this year. They've got like 33 rookies or undrafted free agents or something crazy like that. Almost 2/3 or 3/4 of their squad are brand new rookies. The problem is they've got a lot of dead cap from people they shed over the last 12 months. Next year, crazy.
Well,
I'm sorry. Yeah, the ticker is wrong. It's not his ACL, it's his Achilles.
Sure. Thanks, A6. We don't want to be putting misinformation out there. It's appreciated. So, A6 says, what would the dead cap be on all those trades? So I've got over the cap up real quick. For Aaron Donald, a post June 1 trade would mean that the Rams take this year a $12.5 million cap hit. That's not crazy. They'd save $13.5, and you could probably, depending on whether or not you want to give up compensation, you could probably get the opposing team to take on more money for less draft compensation. With Matt Stafford, a post June 1 trade is a lot more, $18.5 million. But I think that if you are moving Matt Stafford, it's probably we in order to do this, we need the money to work. So you're going to need to take on more money, trade partner. So we'll accept less in draft compensation in order to facilitate that move. So we'll
take Zach Wilson off your hands too.
Sure. So that's $31 million. And then where is Cooper? Oh, is he not on this list because he's injured? That would be a real bummer. There he is. Post June 1 trade on him would be 11.2. They'd save $6 million. So it's not completely out of the realm of possibility, but if you're going to go to your owner and say, hey, I want to take on $45 million so that we can lose all season for the opportunity to perhaps draft Caleb Williams or Drake May. And Caleb is already
stock for the future, right? Yeah. It's not just about, that's the key piece, but you're also going to get extra first round draft choices to help. I mean, look at how fast the Lions did it, right? I mean, you also have to hit, you have to do a good job. Right. But like, if we didn't have the extra first round draft choices from that Stafford trade, we wouldn't be where we're at right now, right? We would maybe in a year or two, because it would take a while to get those pieces.
So, I mean, I would say the Lions have drafted and managed their roster up. I think that Brad Holmes has done an above average job on that rebuild. And like,
yeah,
if we go through and look at his picks, there are a lot of them, and especially the early ones, are hits.
Yeah.
And that's still not a guarantee in the NFL. And like, I think that if you were talking about any team trying to emulate a Lions-like rebuild, that's a high bar to hit, because he's found a starting wide receiver in round 4, and virtually everybody else. Now they drafted inside the top 10 twice. So I mean,
it helps. It's where the best talent is, right?
And they had a bunch of extra capital that they used to maneuver around in certain spots, and some things just went real well for them, like Brian Branch falling to 45.
Yep.
But I think it's more likely the Rams play out the season with their current roster.
And I'm not saying I'm advocating for this. This was more of like a interesting.
But I would
calling, and they may just give that. There's almost nobody over the age of 30 that is untouchable, right? You're not going to be able to give any kind of trade package to Kansas City for Patrick Mahomes. You're just not.
Yeah, they won't trade.
But Stafford is what, the third oldest player in the league?
Is he? How old is he?
I believe so. He's 35.
Well, Aaron Rodgers is older than him.
Aaron Rodgers is one, and I want to say he was either the second or the third oldest.
Okay.
So like, he's not untouched. I think in the league, but maybe it's quarterback. I don't remember.
I don't know.
But like, anyway, he's not untouchable. If you can give just this offer you can't refuse, I don't think he's untouchable. He's not Patrick Mahomes because he's 35, right? So, not that I'm advocating for that trade scenario, but that was just the most interesting thing that I saw kind of floating around the interwebs about like, oh, well, maybe the Jets should go to LA. LA is not going to be good this year.
They should try.
I think they should. And then I just don't think LA will. I think
Matt Stafford is probably the best option that they could realistically hope for. What is going on with my lighting? I mean,
nothing. I don't know what you're talking about.
You do not see it like pulsing back and forth?
No, not at all, Drew. I think it's just in your head.
I don't have any idea what that is, because like my when I look at my light, it's not doing that.
It's not doing it. Actually, when you looked up there, it stopped blinking too. It's doing it right now. Yeah. Anyway.
Maybe I'm just too close to maybe if I'm too still, maybe if I. All right. Anyways. I do think the Rams should bottom out. This is a good year to do so. Okay, so Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles.
Yes.
Fine, whatever. Fuck him. I mean, like, I don't have any love for the Jets or Aaron Rodgers. It is.
Yeah.
Shit like this happens.
What it is. Yeah. What does it do to the AFC playoff picture?
It takes one team out of it. One more team a different team is going to make the playoffs than otherwise predicted now.
Yeah, that bubble team, maybe it's a Miami that gets in, that maybe they were just outside or something along those lines.
It may very well be in their division too, So, I mean, I mean, very few teams can survive their starting quarterback being injured and going out for the year. So, and
Lion. Oh, sorry.
I guess it is unfortunate for Jets fans and the other players on that team. And, Yeah, Green Bay does receive a lesser draft pick now because Aaron Rodgers can't hit his playing time benchmark to upgrade the pick. So
yeah,
it looks like it didn't work out.
Of snaps.
Yeah, like it just looks like it didn't work out for everybody.
Yeah.
So.
And that's fine because there are two teams that I just give zero shits about.
Right. Exactly.
So, I think we're good. And he's back. And so is your lights are normal.
We'll see what happens.
Victory. Let's move to like the Lions because that's what we are. We're a Lions group of fans. 21-20. I'm going to start with a little bit of a rant because I've seen a lot of like the talk about the asterisk thing.
Yeah.
Asterisks don't exist, right? There are no asterisks. Saying that is it really, and the people freaking out are getting pissy about it. They're getting pissy about something that's essentially just a figure of speech. I was it Mike Tirico, whoever it was saying like, you know what? That wasn't the full Kansas City team, right? They didn't have their second best player in or third best, depending on who you rank, Kelsey or Chris Jones. Like they had their best, and then they didn't have their second and third best people. And everybody, just like most teams, it's a big drop off after number 3. So I think all that they were saying was, great, you won, and you should be proud of that. But you also didn't beat them at their best. On the other hand, I don't really care.
Sure.
We had injuries. JMO wasn't in there. If they would have beaten us, would that have been an asterisk because our first round draft choice was out? No. Is it an asterisk because Ragnow has a toe injury and he's not as productive potentially? No. So anybody that talks about asterisks, I just kind of ignore that. Anybody that gets upset about other people talking about asterisks, I ignore them too. It's just it doesn't matter. What it comes down to is the W at the end of the season. At the end of the season, how many wins did we have? Right? Mm-hmm. And we got one.
Yeah. Ultimately, that is the only thing that really matters is the final score of the football game. I understand the point that people were trying to make by saying, listen, this is not the Chiefs that played in the Super Bowl. They didn't have Travis Kelce. They're missing their second and third best players. And there was even stuff in the game that I thought was just low probability, right? Like PFF only credits the receivers for the Chiefs with dropping 3 passes. But I mean, it just felt like any time that they needed a chain moving catch, they just couldn't come up with it, Yeah. And so like, yeah, it wasn't the world beating Chiefs or whatever, but you can only play who's in front of you.
Yes.
And they won that game. They went into Arrowhead, a notoriously difficult place to play. A team with expectations, Detroit, going up against the defending Super Bowl champions, because they are. And they went into that game and they won, and it was by a single point. That's all you need. And I'm thrilled that they did it. But like, whether you want to say it's an asterisk for the Chiefs not having their full complement of players in week 1, or you want to talk about, the way that the game actually got played. Like Crimson mentions here, the refs, given the refs and Marvin Jones play, the Chiefs fans can cry about it. But like, their right tackle lined up as a slot receiver like 30 times in this game and clearly jumped early a lot, and they weren't called, and I don't like to complain about referees much. I will do it, but not much, less than most people, because you just got to go out there and do it regardless, because the refs are probably going to be bad, but you still won. So none of that shit matters. So just be happy that you won. That's it. Like I have no time or patience for the qualification of it. So I know I was happy when I heard that Chris Jones was going to hold out. He's now signed a contract and will play next week. And
but, we really did need you.
Yeah. And I was not unhappy when I heard that Kelsey had an injury that might keep him out a month or whatever, that doesn't appear to affect him.
Yeah, as long as we kept him out a week, I didn't really care, right?
Yeah. So, okay, great. Like, and then we're going to talk about how the game actually got played, but like whether it was the stuff that took place that helped us win before the game or the stuff that took place during the game, I walked away thinking like this is the absolute definition of the ball bounced the Lions' way.
Take it when you get it
this week.
There's so many times that doesn't happen.
Right? Exactly.
You just you take the wins.
Every once in a while, I'm just happy that a deflection goes right into one of our defenders' hands.
Yep.
With a clear path to the end zone. Cool. That's awesome.
We've had that happen the other way, right? Yeah. I remember there was one where
Aaron Rodgers fucking Hail Mary. Yeah.
Where I remember one distinctly. Our guy catches it, falls down, the ball hits him in the chest, bounces right up to their guy, who was not even near the guy, right? And then just catches it and runs in for a touchdown. Because he never had possession, but yet the ball never hit the ground. Stupid shit like that happens. And I'm really happy that that kind of thing happened to us this time.
Calvin Johnson rule.
It's too soon, Drew. It's too soon.
It's like 10 years ago. But
it's still too
it might always be too soon. But like, yeah. So like in what Funky just said, KC fans were saying they would still win by 20 now as an asterisk. Let them talk.
Yeah.
Lose. I mean, like they didn't win.
Yeah.
Let their fan base complain about it. I mean, like, I don't see it as disrespect. I just see it as the way that's what fan bases act like when they don't win. It doesn't matter who they are. And like Casey's had a lot of success recently. So, okay. So we stole a tiny bit of their thunder. Fine. It's okay. You have a target on you for a reason. You're a successful franchise.
Yeah. And so one of the things I want to talk about is like, I'm happy we won.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always going to be happy we won. But let's be real about the performance too, right?
Sure.
Like our offense scored 14 points. Our offense did not win the game.
Mm-hmm.
We won by 1. It was essentially on a fluke interception bouncing off the hands, which again, I'll take it. A dub's a dub. But let's not pretend that like we just rolled the world beater, the Super Bowl champs. It was one fluke bounce away from a loss. And our offense did not play particularly well. Our defense played far better this year than they did at the beginning of the season last year. So
I was
kudos
very
to that.
happy with the defense and the effort. So real quick before we get too deep in, Crimson says, if the Packers beat the Chiefs last week, would they get an asterisk? Yeah. It would be this. Mike Tirico would have said the same thing. It is not because it is the Detroit Lions. We're not that special. Right. Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I understand that thinking because it feels like the world's been against, Detroit versus everybody, right? Like that phrase comes from somewhere because it just feels like you got to climb the mountain every single time and it just gets burdensome, or whatever. So like, I get it, but it doesn't matter. None of that matters because the Lions won the game. None of it matters.
Yeah, and like Funky said, the defense really did pick up where it left. I mean, the first 7-8 games was just historically bad. Just god-awful. The last 10 games, they were like, 11th or something like that in total team defense. They looked good. I was impressed. I thought we would lose by 10 points. I mean, I wanted to be wrong. I'm thrilled that I was wrong. And then once I found Kelsey was going to be out, I figured it was going to be closer to a field goal, close game. But I still just didn't think we were going to quite get there, to be honest. And we were one bounce off the hands away from being not quite right there. So, but I'll take it. I will take every W we get, regardless of how, because ultimately what that means is we took advantage of of mistakes better than them, and that's part of football. That's part of being a winning team, right?
Absolutely. So let's talk about what we liked. because I got a couple things that I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So the first one is Jahmyr Gibbs.
All right, let's do a stock up, stock down type of deal.
Okay, sure. Stock up for me, Jahmyr Gibbs, and it's up a lot. Like, I did not watch a lot of Alabama football last year, so I haven't seen this kid play. But like, I watched the Kansas City game, and he takes at least 2 shots that I was like, most running backs are getting put on their ass with a shot like that. That was downhill, shoulder down, there's perfect angle shots. And he did not move. It was like they ran into a wall. And I was like, no kidding. And there were a couple of plays where he had an opportunity to just go 0 to 60 as fast as he could. I had no idea that he could accelerate like that. It was crazy to watch it. So like,
and the spin move to get the extra 5 or 6 yards when he kind of went around the right. It was just so like gorgeous. It reminded me of Barry Sanders, except Barry had legs this big around. That was the only separation.
Barry has a special place in the halls of fantastic running backs, but like the best anybody else can hope to do is remind you of him. But
and that did, and
I was very, very, very impressed with Jahmyr Gibbs. So and
speaking of Jahmyr Gibbs and PFF, he was the number 3 graded receiver running back in the league in week 1. He played fantastic.
Yeah, and I did see that Campbell said, or Holmes said, that you want to just get this guy, like basically with like a rookie, you want to dip their toe in, get them acclimated before you start really feeding this guy.
Yeah.
But if he has performances like this over the next 2 or 3 weeks, I really think his workload is going to skyrocket.
I think by week 5 or 6, assuming health, knock on wood, he's going to be our number 1, and Montgomery's going to be our number 2.
Yeah, I do think. Oh, look at Joey switched
up. Joey? No, we got 2 different Joeys.
What?
We got Joey D. We got Joey D, and then we got Joey 2 times.
That's not the same guy?
It's not the same Joey.
Oh, this is.
That's the Hatter House in there too?
Huh?
Yeah, Hatter's House is in there too.
Yeah, Hatter's joined. Yeah, I saw Hatter's.
I did not notice that. Welcome, Hatter.
Yeah. So my stock up, Jahmyr Gibbs. Thanks a lot. Like, I think I got a glimpse of what Holmes and Campbell saw in the pre-draft process.
Yeah.
And I still wouldn't take him at 12, but like I have a better appreciation for the player that I think he can be.
Yeah.
So
I think Joey D Bonesaw brings up my stock. Dan Campbell's cojones all the way up.
There's a lot of memes going around about his balls.
Yeah. I mean, fakes work best when they're not expected. The first drive of the game on your 23-yard line.
17-yard line, yeah.
17-yard line, like that is definitely not expected.
I could not believe it.
My jaw, I'm like, oh my God. Oh, thank God we made it, because that's a touchdown, or it's at least a field goal, right? There's a 3-point decision.
Scoring opportunity for the opponent.
So like I thought that was great. I thought he called the whole game. I thought the in-game decisions I thought were really good. And granted, this is his 3rd year with us now. So he's continuing to learn. His first year, there were a lot of questionable things. Last year, a few questionable things. I think he started out this year really, really well. Plus, I wanted to throw his I don't know how that happened, but I wanted to throw Joey's comment up there just because it's going to.
Watch,
you did it?
Yeah, watch. I'll do it again. Look at that. It's my podcast. It's my podcast too, Mike.
I didn't know you knew how to do that.
The thing says show when you mouse over it. It's the easiest thing in the world.
But yeah, I thought his his game management, clock management was really good. I don't remember anything when I'm like, really? You're going to do that? So, so he's on my stock up list.
Yeah.
Who else is on your stock up?
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Looked really good.
I had not watched this guy play football. I knew he was good, but I had never sat down and been like, I'm going to watch Chauncey Gardner-Johnson tape. Right. This dude looks like a shark swimming in water after something that it wants. I was so just like, God damn, like the only thing that I have against Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is that Brian Branch plays the same exact position, and I want both of them on the field all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you do that. So like, well, I know how you do that. You play one linebacker, but like, I just was so impressed with his reads and his explosion and how he tackled and his attitude out there. He straight up feels like a Detroit Lion to me. Like that was something that I didn't get from the preseason and camp and all that kind of stuff. I thought like, okay, this is a nice signing. Cheap. All right. Whatever. He used to play in Glenn's system in New Orleans. This will be a nice thing. This dude feels like this was the team you were supposed to play for the whole time.
Yeah.
So
he's only on a 1-year deal. That's a scary thing.
Yeah.
Welcome to the chat, Kathy.
I doubt. Hey, there she is. I very much doubt he's getting back into free agency next year. This seems like peanut butter and chocolate to me.
Reese's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, goodbye, Tracy Walker. Hello, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I'm real sorry. I'm a Tracy Walker fan.
Yeah.
But if I have to make a pick, I'm choosing Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah, same. And especially when we got a guy like Kirby Joseph also ready, waiting in the wings.
This is incorrect. Just because you posted this before I said it out loud doesn't mean that I'm copying you.
So the other one for me that kind of stuck out was not necessarily one player, but our defensive line play in general.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Lee McNeil looked good. I thought Pascal looked good. I thought our edge rushers, like our defensive line, just in general, played phenomenally. There were very few things where I'm like, they didn't have the motor, they didn't have the get up and go. They stopped them. They contained the run far more than Mahomes is going to get loose once or twice, and it is what it is. Like, that's going to happen. I get it. But it didn't happen near as many times as Justin Fields did it to us last year, right? So, like, they're containing that kind of stuff. I thought they were really, really good.
I would not be surprised whatsoever if the Chicago games last year, thank you, by the way, were a reason why Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and Brian Branch are on this team right now. They are both
I can see that.
Fast. Yeah. They diagnose plays immediately, and they are both excellent tacklers. So I would not be goddamn lights.
So, like, looking at the PFF grades, because that's the other thing that we do is we take a look at the analytics behind things. Our highest graded guy, Ali McNeil. Josh Pascal's up there at number 3. We got Charles Harris and Aiden Hutchinson. Like, our defensive line dominates our top 5, top 6 players. Houston's at number 8. Onwuzurike is at number 9, and then Onwuzurike, Kaminsky. Like, not to say that our secondary played poorly, but like our defensive line played really, really well.
Yeah, and so like Funky in the chat said 18 pressures, only sending 4. If you can do that, if that's repeatable through most of the games, say 12 games this year, the Lions are going to win an absolute ton of games. Yeah. Because you can dedicate 7 to coverage, and that's what you absolutely have to have in the NFL. And great. I mean, and like, to be fair, the Lions' defensive line could have looked even better, but they were just literally tenths of a second or fingertips away from, we didn't sack Mahomes once, but they were close like a handful of times. So
he was pressured all game long.
Yeah. I mean, it could not have been fun. And Aiden looked great.
Yeah. I was actually a little surprised the score was only a 66. I was expecting it in the high 70s, maybe even 80s.
Sure.
But I'm also a Lions fan, and they're coming at it unemotionally.
Exactly. So I thought it was an excellent defensive effort. Absolutely had to have it. Good job to everybody on the defense.
Brian Branch, like rookie first game, 65.6 grades, pretty dang good. Yep. Kirby Joseph was only at 61.2, right? Cam Sutton, he was okay with 57.9 is okay. It's it's like a low end starter once you get underneath 60.
Yeah, it's
or a replacement level player. So I mean, it's his first game. In fact, that was the reason why I thought we were going to lose the game was our backfield. This is the first game they played together. They didn't play it all in the preseason. They had OTA and training camps, but those aren't games, right? So I just thought that it's going to take some time to gel, and I still think so. They'll continue to get better. This is not going to be his top graded game by any means.
Yeah, I've been pretty high on like us getting better corners. Like I've wanted, because the secondary was abysmal last year, right? Injuries didn't gel, the whole nine. However, these safeties are the absolute strength of the secondary. Yeah. And I think it's really going to show up. He didn't look bad. No, he didn't
look bad.
He had the one penalty where he got there a tenth of a second too early or whatever, and they flew.
I thought that was a little sketchy.
Sure, I understand. He's very clearly there early, so that's fine. I'm not saying you can't feel that way, but he was also very clearly there early. So he's gonna. When that happens, you're gonna get flagged for it, whether I agree with it or not. Yeah. But to Funky's point, like he didn't look bad. He had one negative play, and like I would rather that he get penalized and letting that dude catch that pass. So I mean, now can someone explain to me the difference between a 15-yard pass interference call and a spot foul? What makes that pass interference a spot foul?
All pass interference in the NFL is a spot foul.
No,
college is 15 yards.
Is every pass interference call in the NFL a spot foul? That's not true.
Yep, it is. That's why if you throw a Hail Mary and they do it in the end zone, it's not a 15-yard penalty like college. You get it on the 2 or the 1. Every PI.
There is no 15-yard in the NFL?
Nope. It is a spot foul for defensive pass interference.
I don't like that at all.
I
don't know. Aces is your friend. He may just be screwing with me. Oh, Hefe, man.
Hefe.
I thought you guys played. I thought your wide receivers just killed you guys. But we appreciate the sportsmanship. Thank you.
Yeah. We were, to be honest, we were lucky to come out with a win.
I felt very fortunate.
The balls have to bounce our way. Right?
Yeah. So
defensive holding is a 5-yard penalty, automatic first down. Defensive pass interference is a spot foul, also automatic first down. And the difference for anybody that doesn't know that's listening is, was the ball in the air when it happened? If the ball was not in the air, it's a defensive holding. If it was, it's pass interference.
Interesting. Well, I'm learning. Okay. All right. Good to know.
Yeah, you're a tough team. We know this in KC. Yeah, we take after. I mean, Dan Campbell's attitude and growl, his grit, if you will, definitely is just seeping right through the players, and we're getting those kind of guys.
So, I would be if I wasn't a Detroit Lions fan, I'd be thrilled to be a Kansas City Chiefs fan. Like Patrick Mahomes seems like a kind of guy you can really root for. There's been a lot of success there. Everybody loves success. So, yeah. So, yeah, it was a good win, but I'd hate to play you guys say week 10. I'm glad we got it in week 1.
I wouldn't mind in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, if we have to rematch,
if we see you again this year, I'm gonna love it.
I don't mind rematching you guys. So,
I love to see Vaitai moving from that tackle position that he played most of his career.
Mm-hmm.
Once he came here, got moved inside to guard. He's playing well. He's staying healthy. Goff was our third highest graded on the offense, which is great because that's not the way he was for much of last year.
If he maintains a 76.5 score, he's having a great season. He's having one of his best seasons.
His overall score last year was like a 73 or something like that. So
great.
It's that's not going to put him in the top 10 or top 12.
No,
but I don't think we need that. Like, I think we've got the team that can.
I don't think that
overcome that, right? Cousin's a Chiefs fan. I told him rematch in February. Like it.
Yeah, let's do it. I would love a rematch this year. That would be fucking dope.
My German exchange student, our bonus son, who's back in Germany now, huge Chiefs fan. So we texted back and forth a little bit after the game. Well, the next day because it was real late.
5 or 6 hours ahead over there. What was his name?
9 Max.
Max, that's right.
Max. Yeah, Max will be back in October, I believe.
Oh,
we gotta hang out.
I gotta hang out.
Yeah,
cool.
He's a good kid.
I like that kid. Yeah,
I do want to.
Offensive lineman. Okay.
Oh, yeah. No, that's right.
Offensive lineman. They're just littered throughout the top 7 players. So.
And the weird thing is, I didn't think they played amazing. I thought they played good, but it wasn't their best performance yet. They still played good, and they protected Goff fairly well.
I think he only got sacked once, and the fumble I don't think was his fault. I think it was Ragnow. It was on Ragnow, or the guy that came across the formation stopped when he shouldn't.
Oh, the hike that ended up hitting the guy going across. Yeah.
So I don't think that was on.
It's a timing thing, and that kind of stuff just happens. It was a half a step, and it is what it is.
I have a stock down.
Well, first, because I want to be fair to Goff because I've given him a lot of shit. So I will go up to the overall. He is after week 1 in the top 10. He is number 8 in overall offensive score for PFF. So high five to Goff. Let's keep this up. Mm-hmm. I did not watch the Miami game, and I want to because I got NFL Plus. I'll probably watch that game because this looks amazing. Stafford played really well. Obviously, I'm not surprised with that. I think Mahomes outplayed Goff. The one person doesn't make a team. But yeah, I was happy to see Goff in the top 10 overall in the NFL because I've given a lot of crap, and I want to make sure I give him his due.
Yeah, he played.
Who's your stock down?
He played a good game. I'll give him that. I didn't particularly think that the Marvin Jones connection was all that good, all that solid. There needs to be some work there for sure.
This guy with a 35.1 rating?
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
That was bad. That clearly needs to be better or he can't play. It was, and maybe that's just reps after practice.
Yeah.
But I was like, ugh, yikes.
Could be worse. He could have been a Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, I mean,
our defensive MVP.
Let's talk about Kadarius Toney for just a brief second. His negative.
Sorry, Hefe. This is gonna be probably sore for you, but we're gonna do it anyway.
His negative EPA per play was negative 2.6. So every time that they threw him the ball, it was like they took a sack.
Yeah.
Every third time they threw him the ball, it was like their opponent scored a touchdown, which is exactly what happened.
Which is exactly what happened and why you get that kind of EPA, right?
Yeah, 100%. So that was truly terrible. I think that Josh Reynolds should be starting after this game above Marvin Jones.
I wasn't a fan of the Marvin Jones pickup. I mean, he had 600 yards and 3 touchdowns last year. He was not impressive, but we need to fill a roster spot. I almost wish the who was the other wide receiver that was right on the bubble didn't end up making it?
Denzel Mims.
That guy. I would have much rather had Mims. I think you have a higher ceiling with Mims. Jones hit his ceiling 4 years ago. Any other? Let's take a quick peek at the offense. We'll scroll to the bottom, see if there's anybody else that's a stock down. Montgomery, I mean, I'm a little surprised at 55.4. He didn't play terribly. I didn't think he played terribly, but he wasn't special by any means. And he definitely stood out against Gibbs because Gibbs, I thought, made a couple really special plays.
Yeah, I think that David Montgomery's fine. I think he's better than this particular game's score on average. I also didn't think that what he did wasn't almost any way negative. I mean, like once I'll say it again, like Kansas City has linebackers like Willie Gay, Karlaftis, Chanel. Like they have a glut of gigantic, fast, big-bodied linebackers. I don't know that this is the kind of matchup that Montgomery is going to really shine in. I think it's more the matchup that like a Gibbs would shine in because his speed is a weapon. I give you another stock down. Will Harris. End of sentence. End of explanation. I'm so disappointed that you played those 3 snaps. I don't want you in there for any snaps.
I was surprised by Rodriguez, to be honest.
Yeah. So, and maybe that's what they've seen in him, and that's maybe why they went out and got. How can a stock go down? Because it can always go lower. A6. Watch, it just did. See, I think less. So
wait until next week when it scores under a 42.9, and it's just going to keep dropping.
No, that's a common misconception. It can go lower.
It can go lower. Yes, negative. Look at the EPA for Kadarius Toney, for example.
Yeah. So I mean, like, if Brad and Dan saw something in Rodrigo that was like, we need to go get Jack Campbell, here's why, and it's starting to show up. Okay. That's fine. You know, Derek Barnes played real well, and like that was the scuttlebutt in the preseason too. Was like, hey, this guy feels like he's coming into his own. It can be negative. There are negative numbers. And if this
it's true stock price, don't argue with it.
Yeah. So exactly. Thank you, Mike. And but I don't think there's any problem if the order of the linebacker hierarchy goes Anzalone, Campbell, Barnes, Rodrigo. Fine. That's 4 better linebackers than we had 2 seasons ago. So I'm all right with it, quote unquote, because Campbell very much looks like the future of the position for the team. And if Rodrigo ends up being a special teamer that's good at special teams and a situational linebacker, fine. He's a 6th-round pick.
Right.
But
we need special teams players. We need good special teams players.
I mean,
we need people to fill in depth at the other places. So if that's what he is, then that's great. We need that.
Yeah. But that's about my last stock down. I thought the team played pretty average. After I watched the game, glad they got the win, thrilled with the win. I do think
conversion rate, is that not a stock down?
That was not good. They did not convert on 3rd down. Which that will have to get better, and there is room for improvement here. And like I thought about Mark or Donkey Kong a little bit, because there were a lot of people in the Facebook groups that I'm in that were like, any reason the Lions aren't Super Bowl contenders? And I'm like, you don't win Super Bowl scoring 21 points a game. Hutch is 12th on run defense, and that's probably because they were sending him as a quarterback time after time after time after time. So, it wasn't what
15 run defense stops or plays.
So, I mean, I imagine that a team like Chicago, where he's going to play a lot more run heavy than a team like Kansas City, which is a team that's a lot more pass heavy. Oh, and Chicago looked absolutely terrible. This
was one of the games I watched. I watched that game, and the Packers didn't look great per se, but the Chicago looks just as bad as they were last year.
Yeah.
Justin Fields was a roller coaster. He had some nice plays. He had some what was like the pick six. Now, granted, I will say that pick six was his fault for the interception, but his team let him down. Like that guy should have been tackled at like the 30. The guy like puts a shoulder into him, bounces off, and he's like, "Oh, I'm still up," and then he keeps running and zigzagging it for a touchdown. So that kind of sucks. But I think Chicago is just not a good team. I think Packers are a decent team. I think they're going to be a 500 team this year, maybe a little more, but I don't think a ton more than that.
Huh, interesting. The Bengals released L. Collins. That's kind of a interesting move.
One other quick thing, since we've got stats or the PFF analytics stuff up here, something that Joey D Bonesaw threw into our Discord was, let me bring it up. Where is it? There was a stat. No, go away. Jared Goff recorded his 8th straight game with a passer rating of 85 plus, which ties franchise record set by Matthew Stafford. Cool. I don't put a ton of stock into the passer rating. And the reason is because it is just a math problem. It is graded on a scale of 0 to 158.3, I believe, or it's 153.8. Some weird shit. Like that's not a scale, right? If you throw every single ball into the ground, you go 0 for 30, you can still score like a 30-something on that scale. That's not a real scale. It is a math problem with not the correct pieces. Yes, my life is a giant math problem. But that is not an accurate measure of how someone does. If you can throw 30 straight passes into the ground and still get a 39 grade, that is not an accurate thing. Now, sometimes I'm not saying it's always not indicative of play, but it's not indicative of play enough for it to matter to me personally. I would much rather take a more analytical approach to it. If every single one of those was a drop by the receiver, he's got a 39 grade, but he maybe dropped that right on stride 30 straight times, but that doesn't show it. QBR is on a 0 to 100 scale. But yes, also equally useless. Passer rating is on the 0 to 158.3. But both of them are similarly useless for similar reasons. So that's why I typically will go to an analytics site like a PFF, where they're actually taking consideration into was the pass, not just was it completed, but was it well thrown? Was it a tight window that they weren't able to make it in? Did he make the guy reach back behind himself to make a circus catch? Was the interception, was it clear that the wide receiver ran the wrong route? Was it not clear? They zero out the things that they're not sure on. So I think there's just so much more context behind the raw stats with something like PFF than there is in passer rating. And that's so, because he had mentioned that. I told him I'd talk about that. I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are, Drew, on basically math algorithms that take no context in like a passer rating compared to like a PFF. I mean, that said, cool. I'm glad that he's got that. That means, I guess, something like
Night Funky. So here's what I'll say. I don't give a shit about the metric. I have very little respect for QBR or whatever it is. What is it? Passer rating.
Passer rating.
Right. So this is the point that A6 makes, and I'll talk about it one time again. The problem is that PFF is a human element. All right, let's look at that, right? So what A6 means, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that by adding the human element into it, you're including variance, right? So therefore it's less reliable because there's more variance in that particular metric than in others, like a purely mathematical one like passer rating. Here's the problem with passer rating. Passer rating, as you said, is like completely manipulative and also like I don't think reflects not less reliable. Okay. So I just don't think that passer rating is a stat that gives you any information about how well the player actually played. It indicates what his stat line was at the end of the game. Now, and I think that there is a difference that needs to be made between stat line and how well you played the game. So PFF has multiple people grade each player to arrive at their final PFF score. And
and it's each play, not just each player.
Every play, every game, multiple people at PFF grading every player in the NFL. Their scores are compared to one another, and any wild differences are discussed and rationalized until they can figure out this is the best. Yeah, and you're right. It's opinion based, right? Because there is a quote unquote formula and training for how they want to grade plays, but it's not just straight math.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you're going to try and determine how well someone played the game, that in itself is an opinion based metric. Doesn't matter how you come up with it. You're starting off as the basis, the foundation is opinion based. So yeah, you have to keep that in the back of your mind when you're reviewing PFF grades. But we have made the decision on our podcast to say we trust that more to determine how well someone played than a metric like passer rating. So that's where our opinions are going to be formulated. So do we even want to know Josh Allen's QBR? Probably not.
His grade was 49.6. That's bad.
So how much did he play? So what? I don't know what Goff's was for this game. Was it 85?
No, 76. I'll pop it right back up.
So like, no, not his PFF grade, his QBR. So like, regardless of what it actually is, and Mike is looking that up, but like, if Josh Allen's is 49 point whatever, and Jared Goff's is, let's say, 85, when you look at the difference between 49 and 85, what's that, 36? Do you think Jared Goff played twice as well as Josh Allen? I would say he probably played way more than that in this particular game, this particular week. But like, I don't think that stat speaks to how well he actually played the game.
Jordan Love had the highest QB, the passer rating this week.
Right. So did Jordan Love play the best out of every quarterback this week? Did he play the position better
than
the other 31 quarterbacks in the NFL this week? Because if that rating doesn't mean that, what does it actually mean?
Yeah, so like, we got Goff and Stafford down at 12 and 13.
Right. Would you rather have Jordan Love this
Ritter
than Matthew Stafford? I sure as fuck wouldn't. So like, the problem,
Russell
the disrespect
Wilson,
that I show to
Wilson didn't play well.
No, he didn't play well. 27 for 34 for 170, 2 touchdowns, right? They lost. They lost by 1 point, but it's a loss. I don't want my quarterback to go 27 for 34 for 177.
So, like, And just to compare it, and because it is a math formula, right? Stafford went 24 for 38 for 334 yards. Now he didn't have a passing touchdown because they had 3 running touchdowns when they got close.
Right.
But like they scored.
We know the calculate. I mean, like we know there's a passer rating calculator out there where you can just plug in the stats. Like, and if you put one touchdown in, he does have touchdowns, but that formula is designed to reward that, right? So
you can go 0 for 30 and still have a nearly 40 rating on this scale from 0 to 158.3, right? So you go 20 for 30, you're still there because you don't have any yards, which also is weird. 285.4. Throw in 1 touchdown, 96. Like, so it is just a math formula.
Yeah, and once again, the problem with the math formula is that it doesn't speak to how well he plays.
Contextless.
Right. It's great for listing people. That's fine.
Yeah.
No, I get it. We're on board with the A6.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, Jones and Allen just did not have a good week, But
where is Josh Allen on here?
Second to last.
Second to bottom, right behind Burrow, or right in front of Burrow. Five sacks. Wow, 3 interceptions, 5 sacks.
Well, he's one of those guys. Like, he's one of those guys that holds and holds and holds and holds, and then, like, he's trying to make a play, and then eventually a defensive lineman gets there because it's 4-on-1.
Yeah.
So,
and to be honest, like A6 brings up the exact same point, and I think I texted you this after that happened. I said the pick 6 is the exact reason why analytics is more important than raw stats. Perfectly well thrown ball, right to the guy. And I mean, everybody's seen the pictures, right? Where the ball's like right here and there's nobody around, almost in the picture. And they're like, I can't believe this turned into a pick 6. And you're like, what? That can't be a thing. But it bounces off his hands, comes to us. We run it in for it. It goes down as an interception. It goes down as a pick 6. And it was a perfectly thrown ball.
Yeah.
That interception is not his fault, but it reduces his passer rating. It reduces his raw stats. And that's where I just don't care about I care about the raw stats in some. Like, if you throw for 5,000 yards, that's impressive. I don't care who you are. If you throw for 45 touchdowns, that's really impressive. I don't care who you are. If you also throw for 20 interceptions, you're still plus 25. That's actually not that bad, right? So, like, raw stats have a place, but they can't be the only thing that goes, this makes someone good, or they were good because of. Because when you go back and you look at this week, Tagovailoa, like, I saw some of his stats. He was really good. Stafford's up there. Goff in the top 10. Joe Burrow played like garbage. Right? He was way down toward the bottom.
Bad. Yeah.
Yes. Like, his performance was bad, not just his stats. Bryce Young was way down there. Daniel Jones was way down there, which makes sense because they got absolutely annihilated.
They got annihilated, dude.
But Daniel, where is he on the passer rating?
He had to be.
Daniel Jones. Am I just not seeing him? Or
scroll down.
Oh, there he
is.
It's got Tyrod Taylor.
Because they probably pulled him. There's only 32 people on that list. I mean, that's not possible.
There's 30.
Right. There's only 30 players on the lists.
Yeah. So he maybe he's just under 52.
Right.
I don't know. They're like, I don't want to embarrass him. I'm just gonna keep him off the list.
Is there a
He'll
second
thank me
page?
later.
Is there a second page for some reason?
I don't see a second page. No.
That's weird.
Interesting.
Why wouldn't you list everyone that played?
Let's go. I like Pro Football Reference as a site too. So let's go to leaders.
Right.
Passing 2023. And come on, give me good stuff. There we go.
Yeah, it looks like an amazing site.
Yeah. All right. Go away. All right. So Desmond Ridder, Daniel Jones, 30. Oh, that's in yards. Let's take a look at passer rating.
32.
31.
31.
32.4, which, by the way, if you had thrown every single pass into the ground, he had a worse rating than someone that threw every single pass right into his feet. That's why I hate this stat or this metric. So, anywho, I know Joey D asked us to kind of talk about that. I figured we would. He does bring up a good point up there at some point. He has the third longest streak of attempts without an interception. So a lot of people argue their teams would have won if they didn't turn over. If he doesn't turn over, I bet we keep winning.
Yeah, and that helps, true.
Right? You're right.
That part's true. And like Ben Johnson is not asking him to do things that he's not good at.
Yes.
Right? That's the difference.
They're molding around his strengths and avoiding his weaknesses. And that's
Ben
what a good offensive coordinator does.
And is not going to put him in a position to make a mistake. Fine. Yeah. And that's what we want in the last 10 games, right?
If we have above average play but not great with no turnovers, we're going to win a lot more games than someone that's really good with more turnovers.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because you're going to be more consistent, right? Yeah. You don't have to have the rest of your team bail you out as often.
Correct.
Which is what happened the first 7 games of last year, and our team wasn't good enough to bail him out.
Correct.
Because he was a turnover machine.
Yeah. It was right around week 8, week 9 game where it was like, okay, we're not going to do X with Jared anymore.
Yeah. And everything turned around. So, super happy about that. I don't think he's an elite top 8, top 10 quarterback, but I think he's a very capable quarterback of winning. We just need to put the team around. We need to have everybody do well, which is great. That's what we're doing. I want him to do well. I'd love for him to win a Super Bowl. I don't care. Right? I don't need to like a guy or think he's going to be a long-term elite Hall of Famer or anything. If he wins us a Super Bowl, I love the guy. Right? Anything else that we want to chat about? Do we want to do a week 2 preview?
So I will do a brief one. I believe that the Lions will win this week. It's their home opener. Everybody's going to be crazy, especially coming off that win. I think that the win is going to provide this team with a lot of confidence, and I think they're going to go into this week. They have a long week to prepare. That's a benefit. Seattle's got to come from the West Coast to the Eastern time zone. That's a benefit. And if their tackles don't play or are limited, I think that was one of the strengths of their team as well. And if you take that away, I think it just takes away one additional dimension of that offense. And so if you can get pressure with 4, drop 7, keep DK Metcalf, keep Tyler Lockett in check, I think the Lions have an excellent opportunity to go 2-0 to start the season.
I agree. I'm not a big Geno Smith fan. He needs to be more consistent. He had kind of a roller coaster season. He had more ups than downs, but he was very inconsistent. So I'm not sold until he can do it consistently. They've got a good run game, but I really liked what I saw from our defensive line this last week. And much improved against the run. If our secondary can play as well and our safeties play as well in the backfield as they did in week 1 against Kansas City, I think they're going to be able to slow down Lockett and Metcalf. They're going to force them to use their run game, which is good. I'm drawing a blank. Something the third. Who's their running back?
Kenneth Walker the third.
Kenneth Walker the third. Go green. Like they're going to be forced to use that, I think, instead of going for Geno's arm. And I think that just benefits us. I think our defensive line plays improved enough.
Yeah, I agree. So I am very hopeful that the team starts off 2-0. These wins count just the same as they do 17-18, week 17-18. You know, and like racking these up, building up the confidence, proving the point, hey, you're doing things the right way. Getting this team to believe that, like, okay, we can go in and do this. I think that it's going to be unbelievably beneficial for the Lions.
Yeah.
It is a tough time to be a Sparty fan right now. It is harsh.
It's rough. It is harsh.
So,
but appreciate everybody joining in the chat. I love Victory podcast. We get to talk about
so much.
We get to
fun.
talk about winning. I want to do this 17 more or 16 more times.
Yeah, 100%.
Actually, I want to do this about 19, 20 more times.
Whew.
This season, not over.
Would be nice. Would be nice.
Appreciate it, Zeka. We got our Discord, so the link's there. I'll throw it into the chat. It's also in our show notes on YouTube. We're getting some more people in there, so that's awesome. There's a show feedback channel. That's where Joey D threw in the thing about talking about the passer rating. Feel free to throw other things in there as well. We'll talk about them on the show. Derek Barnes. Yeah, game day chat's fun. Memes are always fun. We got a lot of good ones in there. Partially because I just love memes. They make me smile. So anything else for the good of the crew, Drew?
No, I'm just going to enjoy this win until next Sunday, and hopefully we'll be able to enjoy it for another 7 days.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you nearly 7 days from now. 7 o'clock Tuesdays. Peace.